This is probably the easiest advanced universal remote to set up in 2026. And there's a very good chance you don't realize yet that you actually need something like this at home. But is the SofaBaton good enough, or just another overhyped smart home gadget? Let's inspect. Okay, great to meet you. I'm Michael, and today we're diving into something a little different on the smart home side of tech, because I forced myself to daily drive this smart remote called the SofaBaton X2. The company that makes it sent it over for a review, and I wanted to find out whether this thing is just a fancy, a bit more expensive replacement for your TV remote, or something that can simplify your entire home setup. Modern homes are becoming ridiculous because of the way how we control them. One remote for the TV, then you get another one for if you have a projector, another one for the soundbar, one for the air conditioner, LED strips, streaming boxes, garage doors, and all of a sudden, your coffee table starts looking like a control room of a spaceship. So in this video, I'm going to share what SofaBaton gets very right, where it still lacks polish, and most importantly, who should actually buy this thing and who absolutely shouldn't. And as always, your contribution in the comments below the video is incredibly valuable, especially because I know there's already a growing community around these kind of remotes. So if you own one, definitely share your experience below too. So what exactly is the SofaBaton X2? First of all, this is one of the very few truly advanced universal remotes left on the market, and currently probably one of the two mainstream options with decent smartphone app support. Compared to the older SofaBaton X1, this feels more refined, more mature, and significantly easier to live with. Now, before I show you the practical side of things, you need to understand how this remote actually communicates with devices, because whether the X2 makes sense for your home depends entirely on the protocols that your devices in your home use. There essentially are four major wireless standards involved here. First, infrared, in short IR. These are typically older TVs, budget devices, air conditioners, cheaper LED strip lights, and a lot of more traditional electronics. Human eyes usually cannot see infrared light, but if you've ever pointed a remote at your smartphone's camera in order to check the battery status, then you've seen a blinking purple light on the display. That's the infrared. Then there's Bluetooth, which has become extremely common lately. Newer TVs, Android TV boxes, Apple TV, smart projectors at home, many of them use BLE or Bluetooth Low Energy because it consumes less battery while still maintaining very stable communication. Then we have Wi-Fi, of course, which is self-explanatory. And the fourth one, RF, radio frequency communication, which is usually found in simpler or more specialized devices like garage doors, motorized blinds, outdoor lighting systems, some sort of similar hardware. In my own setup, I think, the rolling shutters at home are the only RF-based device at the moment. And the entire purpose of SofaBaton is to unify all these protocols into one single remote ecosystem that instead of judging 6 remotes, you end up using just one. That's the promise. Now let's see how long it takes between unpacking and actual results. When unboxing the package, you quickly realize this is a remote with benefits. You get the remote itself, a charging station, the central hub, and optional signal extenders. The remote itself feels premium, good button layout, solid tactile feedback, and a display at the top. It's definitely heavier than a typical TV remote, mostly because of the built-in battery and the display hardware. And because of that display, I would strongly recommend getting a protective case, especially if you have tile floors at home. If this thing falls display first onto ceramic tiles, I don't think your chances are particularly good. The battery here is non-removable, which I personally dislike, which is becoming common with modern gadgets, but for a product designed to stay at your home for years, replaceable batteries would have been a smarter long-term decision. The charging station is actually very important because the remote constantly communicates with it. SofaBaton marketed it as wireless charging, but technically this is still pin-based charging rather than inductive wireless charging. It works well, but I hope the next generation adopts proper Qi-style charging. Battery life, though, is excellent. SofaBaton claim around 30 days, and I never even managed to drain it close to empty. Even placing it in the dock for maybe just an hour per week kept it comfortably above 50%. Now let's talk about the reason people actually buy something like this. Activities. This is where the X2 transforms from a cool remote into a very smart home tool. For example, with a single gesture, you can turn off the room lights, power on your projector, switch on the sound system, lower a motorized projector screen, change HDMI outputs, all of this automatically. This is the moment where you stop thinking about devices individually and you start to focus more on the improved experience. In my own testing, though, the Bluetooth setup with Android TV required downloading an additional database package first, and most of the buttons worked immediately. However, the home button configuration initially didn't. Thankfully, remapping buttons through the app solved the issue fairly quickly. One thing I didn't expect was how strong the range of this whole thing is. SofaBaton promised good wall penetration, and they're not exaggerating much. Infrared and RF commands managed to travel through one floor without issues in my testing, sometimes even 2 floors depending on positioning and wall thickness, and if you connect the signal repeaters, this thing can realistically handle large multi-floor homes. Although here I should mention something important for home assistant users like myself. If you already have a deeply integrated smart home ecosystem with automations, with dashboards, MQTT setup everywhere, functionality may partially overlap, not completely, but partially. And now I want to show you the features of the smartphone app. The most useful section is definitely the Hub settings menu. It's where you manage the backups, the connected remotes, the repeaters, the firmware updates, and more device configuration options. Adding remotes, editing buttons, doing backups, restoring configurations, everything becomes faster and more intuitive. Once you spend hours configuring multiple devices, losing everything after a reset would be really painful. The app allows exporting and exporting configurations, which feels like a lifesaver feature. SofaBaton maintain a useful tutorial library with setup videos and explanations. Watch them, seriously, you're gonna get significantly more out of the system afterwards. For advanced users, yes, there is Home Assistant integration through hacks, but let me make something very clear, this is not beginner territory. You're gonna need at least some understanding of hacks, MQTT, and Home Assistant integrations, and troubleshooting is almost guaranteed at some point. So only go down this road if you actually enjoy tinkering. And before you think I'm blindly praising this thing, well, there are definitely some drawbacks which are worth discussing. First, the display. I really don't like that navigation relies heavily on the capacitive touch controls. Physical navigation buttons would have been more intuitive, especially for elderly users or for using the remote in darker rooms. Second, the panel itself should absolutely have been AMOLED. The current TFT display is usable, but compared to a modern smartphone or premium remotes, contrast and vibrancy are noticeably weaker. Brightness is also just okay, indoors it's fine, but this doesn't feel like a premium display. Then there are occasional compatibility annoyances. I've seen users complain about responsiveness with Apple TV setups. In my own testing, things were mostly fine, but there are moments where the experience doesn't feel perfectly polished yet. Voice control is missing too, and some air conditioner controls can also occasionally be tricky because some AC remotes use weird implementations or infrared commands that require additional tweaking. So, is the SofaBaton X2 worth buying? Depends. Right now, I believe this is the best universal remote available for most people. Significantly undercuts competitors like the unfolded circle, while remaining much more approachable and family-friendly. In most of the situations, adding devices is easy. Basic usage is easy. Activities can be powerful. The smartphone app is also good, but the more advanced your setup becomes, the more technical understanding you're gonna need. Communication protocols, button mapping, activities, integrations. Eventually, you start entering this enthusiast territory. And that's why I think this product makes the most sense for people trying to consolidate multiple remotes into just one ecosystem. If all you need is a replacement of your TV remote, this is probably an overkill. If you have projector, a sound system, a streaming box, smart lighting, air conditioner, and multiple smart home devices, yes, SofaBaton X2 can very much transform how convenient exactly your setup feels. Not because it adds more technology, but because it removes friction, unifies the user experience. And I will continue using the X2 for some more time, so if you have any questions, ask right away in the comments and I'm going to do my best to help you. And as always, let me remind you of my own golden rule. Don't buy tech unless you really need it and you believe it's going to bring real value into your life and your home setup. Thank you very much for watching. I'm the TechMishka. Gotta see you soon.